Well, hey y'all, Big Tim here. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Old School and Bass with Big Tim. So I know I'd originally promised you that I was going to have you some video from Williamstown or the Ohio River, and I really tried. I could not get the computer to export everything last night. I've got it all edited and ready to go, just the computer was giving me fits. I stayed up till almost 1 o'clock trying to get it resolved and never did get it. So, we're going to give you something different. I've been in the boat now for about 2 hours, mainly because I have been transforming it over for different fishery. Um, I think I alluded to the fact that I might go to Kentucky Lake for the Bass Nation, and that is definitely a fact. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been down there in a long, long time, at least the north end of the lake. I haven't fished there, I bet, in 5 or 6 years, maybe 7. I don't know. It's been a long time. So I'm really looking forward to going there. Therefore, I had to take all of the river baits out, retie, restring, get different rods and everything else. And I'm going to show you some of the baits that I'm going to go into this tournament with. And of course, as usual, I will be videoing the tournament. But I really don't know what to expect. There could be some fish shallow, and there could be some deep. And I'm probably going to practice deep. And if I can't figure anything out, I'm going to roll shallow. That's my game plan. So right now, I am set up for deep fishing, fairly deep. So I'm going to show you some of the traditional lures that I use at Kentucky Lake. And I said I was set up for deep. I do have one that I'm going to show you shallow. Actually, I got a couple. Hopefully, we might run into some fish in the bushes. So I have a Reaction Innovations Beaver, standard Beaver. This is a different color. This was one from last year's Classic that my friend Carl picked up for me. And I got it on a ½ ounce weight, 25-pound fluorocarbon. And maybe we'll find some in the bushes. But this is kind of on reserve, on hold. Here's hoping. I know I'm probably not. I could find some fish in the bushes, but I really don't want to travel far enough south on Barkley to find them. I imagine if you went south Barkley, like down to Dover, you probably could find some fish in the bushes, but that's a long run, and I'm not interested in that. So basically, I'm not going to show you much more shallow stuff. I'm going to be showing you mostly deep stuff, and what I'm concentrating on are secondary points and the banks leading out of the spawning pockets, because even if they're not shallow, they're pretty close to it. I think with the weather being as cool as it has been, that I think the fish are not fully out on the main river ledges yet. Um, I say that, but I imagine there's a bunch of bigger fish out there. But you'd have to find a school of 3 to 5 or something, and that takes a lot of patience and a lot of time, and I only have one day to practice. So I'm going to go down there Friday. Yeah, Friday and practice. And one thing is, and you're probably not going to believe me saying this, but I used to throw a shaky head a lot, particularly at Kentucky Lake. This is a small shaky head on one of my custom poured jig heads. It's 1/4 ounce with a 5/0 mustad hook and a net bait. Is it T-Mac or C-Mac? Some sort of Mac. It's either T or C. That's green pumpkin chartreuse. Also, I have not put a trailer on it yet, but another one of my favorites is a football jig. Absolutely love throwing a football jig down there. Little brown and orange, and I have yet to determine what trailer I'll put on. Probably an ultralight speed crawl. That's generally what I use. It's a nice little snack if a bass is rolling by. He'll pick it up and eat it. And of course, I'm always going to have my Carolina rig ready. I've got a big hook on this one. This is going to be for a big brush hog. 1 ounce weight. 20-pound main line. 15-pound leader. And that, by the way, is on a nice medium heavy all-star rod. Love it. Haven't had one in quite a while. Also, a full-size brush hog. You'll rarely see me throwing this unless I go to Kentucky or Barron or someplace that has a lot of bigger fish. I've got it paired on a 1/2 ounce tungsten weight, 15-pound line. This bad boy is ready to go. Also along the shaky head line, another shaky head. Now this is the Magnum shaky head. And I've got it on a big, I think they call it the Pumpkin Ed. I think that's, might be a 1/2 ounce. I like them heavy. One thing about, this has a screw threading pin on it. And I generally don't like using those except for this big stuff because it doesn't want to stay on the hook. But whenever you use a screw lock type shaky head, you need to expose it, okay? I don't know if you can see that. I barely have the hook exposed in there. The reason being is because with the screw lock, the worm does not pull down the shank of the hook, and it will act as a weed guard, basically like a jig. So if you're finding yourself where you're getting a lot of bites on a shaky head and setting the hook and bringing them back to the boat and they're jumping off on you, maybe either expose it or try a different type shaky head where the worm can slide down the shank of the hook and curl up. I really think that makes a big difference. A few years ago, I was really using a shaky head a lot, and I tried the screw locks and I was losing a lot of fish. And I went back to my own custom made one, and I'll just go ahead and pull that out and show it to you right now. Bear with me for just a second. Dig down at the bottom here. And what I mean to say by when the worm ball's on the hook. Okay, we're going to pretend this shaky head is standard rigged. Okay, it's standard rigged. When the bass bites it, that worm wants to come down that hook like that. And then all of a sudden you see it's got a 90-degree penetration. And that will get that fish every time. This is my little shaky head that I made. I took a Dremel to my little custom poured do-it mold and put this little keeper on there. It won't, even though it looks pretty wide, it won't split the worm unless it's a real tiny worm like a robo worm or something like that. Doesn't do well with those. But I find that when I'm not using a screw lock and something like this, my hookup percentage and landing ratio are a whole lot better. So keep that in mind. This one I really hate to share. This is something that a friend of mine years ago, named Brian, I'm not going to say his last name, but he recommended an old paddle tail worm to me. Well, I did some searching and I found a paddle tail worm that I really love. This is a 10-inch paddle tail worm in plum. Plum is always a big color at Kentucky Lake. Again, it's on one of those 1/2 ounce pumpkin heads. But the difference about this paddle tail, it stands up. It floats really good. And I've caught a lot of fish on it. The problem is I can't remember the name of the bait. I took them all out of the bags when I bought them. I found them down in Alabama when I was down for the national championship. And I just picked up a couple packs. And when I learned that I liked them, I called that same company in Alabama, had them ship me about 5 bags. And since then, I found that that company has gone out of business. So, I'm sure there's other people out there that are making them. I understand there's a company down like Barron River, Kentucky, that is making a lot of good products. But this one I love. I do remember the company was out of Nashville, but I don't remember the name of the company. So I said I was set up for deep water, and I am, for sure. But I'm always going to look shallow. Some of those deeper fish will come up and hit this whopper plopper. I've seen it where they'll come out of 10, 12, 15 feet of water to just annihilate this thing. I'll also have a topwater spook on, maybe even two. And I always have a spinnerbait on, just standard half ounce War Eagle spinnerbaits, nothing special. So I'm hoping we get into some fish. I'm hoping we have a good time. You know, that's the key for me. You know, I will say that last week Bubba and I did go to Williamstown, and we didn't catch many fish. We caught a few and had a couple really nice fish. But I had gotten on the water, and it was the first time I'd been fishing in well over 3 weeks. And I made my second cast, and I was like, okay, I'm content. I'm just happy to be here. And unfortunately, that's my mental attitude these days. I don't have a killer attitude for these tournaments like I used to. And more often than not, I get on the water and I'm just happy to be fishing. If I catch a few fish, I'm happier. They don't even have to be big. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to weigh some fish and come in, scare some people at the tournament like I might be able to compete. And that was my goal this year. But it just happens when I get on the water that something just rushes over me. And I get a sense of calm and ease. And I just really enjoy being there and casting. So don't get me wrong, I've had a couple instances in a couple of the tournaments lately that have gotten under my skin, but even still, that's kind of the way I've been lately. So hopefully this will work out. But I used to say that I did my best fishing in the morning when I was sitting behind the steering wheel getting ready for blast off, and I had just a total calm about me. No jitters, no excitement, no anticipation, you know, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. None of that, just comfort, just ease. So hopefully that happens this week. Hopefully I can catch a mess of fish. Who knows? Hopefully I can come home with a little check. Maybe a big check. That'd be awful nice. But thanks for tuning in, and I will get you the Williamstown and River stuff as soon as we get the computer resolved. But until then, I'll also have the Kentucky Lake Tournament. So, practice and tournament. Hopefully that's enough for 2 episodes. We'll see. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you the next time.